Hi, I'm Joe West. I'm a songwriter, producer, mix engineer, based out of Nashville, Tennessee. I've been an engineer for 24 years. As a songwriter, I've had multiple number ones. I had a number one a year and a half ago for Keith Urban called Without You. I had a number one for Toby Keith called American Ride the year before. As an engineer, producer, I've worked with artists like Emmylou Harris, Warren Zevon, Justin Timberlake, Shakira, Flyleaf, pretty wide stance of artists, and I love doing it. Today I'm gonna walk you through the way I use NLS channel and NLS bus. I've set up this session in a way that I can have you listening to the mix that I did prior to owning this plugin, and then whenever I put the channel into input, you'll be hearing live the effect of the NLS channel and NLS bus. It's the most seamless way I could figure out how to do it. This session here is, it's like a AAA AOR track, a country song. I'm gonna play a little bit of it for you and let you hear what it is. This is the original mix that I did. All right, so pretty organic. Not a lot of Pro Tools magic in this or editing. It's just a bunch of guys playing live in my barn here. There's Kramer tape doing a delay effect, some EQs, and a CLA 76 on a snare delay. But really, other than this snare delay here, there's a lot of processing, but the rest of it's really open. This plugin is great in the respect that whenever you reach for your amplifier as a guitar player, you know there's a different tone. Or if you have an API mic pre, you know that if that API mic pre is all the way down on a vocal, you have a certain sound. And if you could crank it up to about 1 o'clock, you know you're gonna have just a gainier sound. It's almost like, I guess it's compression, whatever it is, it just breathes a little bit more. You can feel like you're really pushing a lot of the things, much in the same way as whenever you turn up your amplifier. It adds harmonics to it, you know, and we've all heard about second and third order harmonics, and I don't really know scientifically what they do, but the reality is you don't reach for things like EQs. And the less EQing you do, you know, in the old days, I used to always be reaching for EQs to solve all my problems, and now I reach for compressors to do that, or I reach for something like this, or something that would be under the harmonic folder in your TDM setting here. Things that just sort of give it flavor and texture like a guitar pedal would do. All the analog gear that I own, all of them are used in that respect. I only buy a piece of gear if it's gonna give character to something. So let's pull up this, let's look at the channel here real quick. This is an example of each of the channels have their own plugin. The two elements are the channel plugin, which we're looking at here, and if you go down here, you have your 2 bus, the NLS bus. I'm controlling a lot of the settings globally from this NLS bus. So whenever you end up going back to the plugin here, you'll see some of the things are grayed out just because I'm controlling them as a group. So when you look here, you got drive, we're familiar with that. You've got a VCA group, 1 through 8. So you can assign, just like you could assign anything to a bus. In everything that you have assigned to VCA group 1 can be controlled down the line there on that master bus plugin via the VCA 1 controls. When you drive the gain up here, you might want to readjust, so there's a trim fader here. And then you've got a mic button here that will boost, I think, 20 dB, so it will give you a little distortion on a track. You might want to use it on a room or use it on an over-the-shoulder drum mic. I'm controlling the noise globally, but you could individually turn this on and off to remove the floor noise of the console, and a bypass switch. Now from each of the plugins, you can get to the VCA tab right here with this thumbnail. It does great things to the lower mid-range and the low end. Let's take a listen. I'm gonna go ahead and solo the drums, and we are gonna listen to drums unprocessed and the drums processed. This is unprocessed. Now it sounds great, but watch what happens when I push in this input here. Full snare. Here we go. So when I have this input on, we're listening to the modeling. original, model. Immediately I hear just the whole lower mid-range, which has always been a tough thing for me as an engineer to get clarity in that lower mid-range. You almost have to be on a Neve console, an old 80 series console, or you almost need that to come from the gear more so than putting it in with an EQ, because if it's not good down there at 560 and 400, it's just not going to be any good. On the master bus, the NLS2 bus, you've got essentially this right here, which would be the center section of any console. You could sit here and you could say, okay, let's go ahead and make it an SSL. Let's make it the EMI console, or let's make it a Neve. Now I'm going to play the track and we'll just go through them and listen to the difference just in texture from switching the two bus. SSL, EMI, Neve. I'm not doing a ton of processing on the two bus just because I've done so much on the channels. It's something that I wouldn't do on a real console. I don't end up reamping or gaining up the channels, but it sounds so good there that you could get yourself into a situation where you might end up putting on too much of this. So you might have to print some mixes and pull back a little bit. In the interface here, let's look at it real quick. These switch between the consoles. This is your drive, just like on the channels. This is your makeup trim or reduction trim. Global noise on it. This is noise on and off for your two bus bypass. And then you would show or hide your VCAs. So all those drums you'll see here, it says drums, these are all coming through this first VCA here. You can add or subtract 12 dB. So if you have your drums all set to different ratios, this will bring them all up globally or down globally by that much. And then you can allot for any gain change that you need to do here, because the gain changes you've done, you can bring it down if it's raised it up a bit. This will turn off, these green lights turn off and on the noise for these groups. These globally control those groups. You aren't adding extra noise here. You're turning off the noise on the individual channels. And this yellow light will bypass the process on all of those NLS channels. So you can mute them all off, and this would essentially bypass the console on those channels. Not just the two mix, the individual channels. You see here, this is a great feature. I'm gonna play this and we're gonna listen. This is the drum kit, and I'm gonna go through some different consoles. You'll immediately hear the difference. This is the EMI console. It's the SSL. There's the Neve. So that's great. You know, if you don't know what you want, you can just sort of give yourself some different colors by being able to just page through those and hear it in your two mix and make a decision. Oh, I like the mid-range of this, or I love this, the impact of these. Same thing with the bass. I'm doing most of my controls from these subgroups here. I'm gonna go ahead real quick with the full mix on, and we're gonna listen back and forth from my original mix that I signed off on versus coming back and remixing this song by putting all of the NLS channels and NLS bus in. This is processed through the console and the NLS channels and two bus. There's the original mix. Sounds great to me. But it is a little bit more sterile. It's certainly, as soon as I hit this input here, you're gonna hear so much bigger. Mid-range really expands. The stereo image even sort of spreads out. The low end's got some more vibe and a little bit more buoyant in the low end. So it's a great tool. It's a game changer. It's something that cumulatively across the whole spectrum really changes your sort of foundation. As a mix engineer in New York, I'd be in different studios every day mixing on different consoles. From SSL to SSL, they would sound different. So you're always striving for some form of consistency. I love that you can have this plug-in on and immediately start with a piece of music and immediately have it feel like it's got something going on, a little bit of mojo. Then you just do all your tweaking along the way. It's a real breakthrough I'm excited to use it. This is one of the first songs I've used it on, but I can't imagine it not showing up on a lot of my records over the next couple years.
I never